Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray, and if you don't know, I post book content. Today's video is going to be a really exciting one because I've been planning it for a little while now. We are going to be doing a 24-hour readathon, 24 hours straight. And now you might be thinking to yourself, Ray, what's so special about that? People do 24-hour readathons. What's special about your readathon? Well, let me tell you, I have had the idea of doing this for a little while now. It's February, and as you know, February is Black History Month. And so I thought, what better way to celebrate Black History Month than doing a 24-hour readathon of books by only Black authors? So that's what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be picking from a lineup that I have of only Black authors for today. Now, I have quite a few books. I will not be getting to all these books. I have too many books. I think last time I did a readathon, I finished one book. My hopes are just to finish one book today. That's the goal in the 24 hours. I am a slow reader, but I've got lots. I don't even know how many books. It might be one, two. Yeah, there's 13 books in the lineup. Now, I'm not going to have a TBR, a set TBR, just because I do like mood reading. And if I'm not in the mood for something, I don't want to force myself to read it. So I'm going to be having a lineup of books. So think sports. You got a lineup of players on the bench who are ready to go out there whenever they're chosen. We are going to be choosing from that lineup so that we have some options in our reading, but we're going to quickly rapid fire go through these. A lot of these books I don't know what they're about, if I'm being honest with you. I read a blurb about them when I initially bought them, and then I just haven't picked them up off my shelf since. So I don't know what they're about. I just wanted to go through a rapid fire lineup just so that you know what's on the lineup, but I won't be going into depth about them unless I pick them, and then we'll talk a little bit about them in that capacity. But this first one I do know something about because I did read the first book in the trilogy last year, and that is The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and I loved the first book. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I can't remember, but it's such a unique world. She crafted such a unique story, something that I've never seen done before, something that I'd never read about, and it was so insanely fascinating to me that I don't know why I haven't picked this one up yet, if I'm being honest with you. It might just be because I'm intimidated to get back into the world, but it's been so long since I read that first book. I did go and look up a couple summaries and just book explanations and all of that to kind of catch myself up to speed of what happened and how that one ended. And then when I was reading through that, I was like, yeah, no, I loved that book. That book was incredible. And so it made me even more excited to jump into this one. There's a high chance I start with this one. That is our first book on the lineup, and the rest of them I'm just going to go through rapid fire because I don't know too much about them. Then we have Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I've never read a Kennedy Ryan book before, and I just feel like this could be a good series to get into. I've heard good things about it. We have Beloved by Toni Morrison. I started this book a few years ago, and I don't think I ever finished it. I don't know why, but I can't remember a single thing about what I read, so I did put this on the TBR in case I'm in the mood for it, and to pick it up finally. I just feel like it's something that I could be in the mood for today. And this is my most recent purchase. We have Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. I've always wanted to read an Octavia E. Butler book. There is somebody I follow on TikTok. I can't remember his name. I think it's Jonah Evans or Everett or something like that. He did write a book, which I bought that as well, but he did not stop talking about this when he read it, and I was so intrigued by it. And when I went to the bookstore, my local bookstore near me, I decided to pick it up for this readathon because I thought it could be very interesting. I think it's sci-fi, and I don't really know what it's about, but I know it has a lot to do with like the world. I think climate change and things like that. I could be wrong. I'm really excited to get into this. I think that it's gonna have a huge impact on me, so I thought this could be one that I might want to pick up as well. Then we have The World So Wide by Zelia Jones, and this book, I remember going to the bookstore with the intent of finding books that I had never heard about, and I remember when I looked this one up on Goodreads, it definitely had less than 1,000 reviews. It might have had less than 500 reviews. It's a historical fiction, and I think it's set in New York City. Then we have Hold My Girl by Charlene Carr. This one deals with complicated family dynamics. Two women's eggs get switched, and so they gave birth to each other's babies, and so it just seemed like something that I wanted to read more about. It intrigued me. Other than that, I don't know much about it. It deals with themes of like motherhood, racial identity, loss, and betrayal, and it's very emotional, and so that's what I thought it could be a good read to pick up. It's something that I could get really invested in. Then we have Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. This I think is a TV show now, which I didn't know when I bought it on Crave or something like that. I think this book deals with things like strained relationships and just familial relationships, so you can see a theme with the last few books that I've picked up. It deals with complicated family dynamics, and I think that's something that it does interest me in literary fiction. I think I bought this last year at some point, so I think it's time to get it off my TBR and finally read. Okay, and then we have Legend by Tracy Dion, and this one I know is a fantasy. I don't know if it's a fantasy romance, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about this trilogy. And then we have Blood Scion. This is a duology. I don't typically love to follow main characters who are really, really young. Like the main character, this is 15 years old, but the premise of this really intrigued me, and I think there's some sort of rebellion going on and fighting against the higher power, and it's just a duology, so I feel like I could really end up liking this. And again, another book that I haven't heard much about, but I read the blurb and it intrigued me, and like that's the way that I would pick up books when I was a kid. I would go into a bookstore, I would look at the books, read the back of them, and then choose. And now I feel like with social media and all these recommendations and all these different book platforms, sometimes it can get lost in the sauce and just end up reading what everyone else is reading. But I was like, you know what, I kind of want to just go in and find a book that I have heard nothing about and just want to pick it up based off the description and read it. I'm trying to get myself to not go on Goodreads as much when I'm in a bookstore, so that way I can just pick a book based on what I feel about it, based off of reading it, and not judge it by its Goodreads rating. So this was one of those where I found it and I was like, that could be really interesting. And then we had The Attic Child. I had seen a couple videos on TikTok of some creators talking about some of their favorite Black authors for Black History Month, and this was one of the ones that were on it, by Lola J. Then we have The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Now I feel like this one is a little more well known. There is a movie about it as well, and I feel like I watched the movie a long time ago, but I can't remember it for the life of me. And then we have Birth of a Dynasty. This is a fantasy book, I believe. Yeah, it's the first book in a thrilling epic fantasy trilogy centered around 3 families who fight for power, a land where blood is the most important currency, magic is feared, and prophecy holds away. So that in itself sounds intriguing. That's not even the whole blurb, that's just a little bit of it. But I think this one could be really good to get into, and it doesn't feel very long. Like, I think it's under 300 pages. Yeah, it's like around 350 pages, so it's not very long. Okay, and then the last book we have on our lineup today is the last one by, whoa, the irony. The last one we have on our lineup today is the last one, quite literally. I didn't plan that. I did not plan it. It was just at the bottom of the pile. It's the last one by Rachel Housel Hall. This is another fantasy. It's an explosive and enthralling romantic debut for, oh, debut, I love that. From New York Times bestselling author Rachel Housel Hall. It says, thrown into a desolate land of sickness and an unnatural beast, Kai wakes in the woods with no idea who she is or how she got there. All she knows is that if she cannot reach the Sea of Devour, even this hellscape will get worse. But when she sees the village blacksmith fight invaders with unspeakable skill, she decides to accept his offer of help. Too bad he's at skill at annoying her as he is fighting. As she searches for answers, Kai only finds more questions, especially regarding the blacksmith who can ignite her body like a flame, then douse it with ice in the next breath. And no one is what or who they appear to be in the kingdom of Vinefrith, including the man whose secrets might be as deadly as the land itself. So this one sounds very, very good to me. I know it's like a series, but I might end up leaning towards picking up this one. Those are all the books on my lineup for today. Now I'm gonna go get into some comfy clothes. I'm gonna go grab some water so I can start this readathon hydrated, and then we're gonna get into reading and choosing our first book. I think I have an idea of which one I'm gonna start with. I will see you in a little bit. I'm hoping to start this at 8:30, but I have no idea what time it is right now. So we'll start it when I start it, and we will get into the readathon. So as always, go grab your favorite drink, grab a book, and come hang out and read with me. Okay, so it is the morning now, and I have 2 chapters and an interlude left in the book. 2 chapters meaning that there's like 70 pages still left, because each chapter is about 30 pages long. We are going to finish it out this morning. Last night was a little bit rough. I don't think I explained exactly what I was doing for this readathon. I started the timer. My plan was to start at 8:30 p.m., but I started at 8:48 p.m. My plan for this readathon was to change things up from how I did it last time, because last time I ended up falling asleep and I didn't end up finishing the night portion of the readathon. So what I did this time is I started at night, because I figured figured doing the first portion when you have a little bit more energy overnight might be a little bit easier, and then being awake during the second part during the day might make things easier for the second portion. So that's what I'm doing. I did the first portion overnight. It was difficult. It was a little bit hard because I feel like you're meant to sleep when it's dark outside, so your body just automatically gets tired. Like I was tired. I was tired. I didn't really nap that much beforehand, but I typically only really get 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night. My kids have not slept through a night in a very long time, so I'm used to having to function off of a little bit of sleep. So I thought getting that hour and 20-minute nap before I started the 24-hour readathon would be enough just to get me through that first night portion. And then I thought I'd be struggling a little bit more today. However, I struggled a little bit last night, but I will say the way that I'm feeling right now, and we'll see again in a few hours, I do like the way that I did it this time, starting overnight. And I told myself this before when I started the readathon: if you're just reading words on a page and they're not making sense anymore, take a half-hour nap, take a 1-hour nap, and then just get back to it. Yeah, I've got 2 chapters in the interlude left in the Obelisk Gate by Jemisin. I will say that if I was going to read this book at any point in the video, it was a good idea to pick it first. I feel like picking high fantasy in general for a 24-hour readathon was a little bit out of left field, a little bit crazy of me to do. There's a lot to this world. It's very complex. It's very well thought out. The world building is incredibly well done. The magic system is very well thought out as well. There's a lot of little details that matter so much in this book, and I feel like if I picked it up second or third or whatever it might be, like I would not have been able to comprehend everything that was going on. I feel like this is a book where you really have to think about it, and you have to sit down and be part of this world and not be distracted by other things. So I did immersive read a little bit when I was finding myself getting a little tired, because I didn't want to miss the important details. Every part of this is so important. I also forgot from reading the 5th season last February last year. It's really dark. There's a lot of dark things in there, especially if you're a parent and have kids. Definitely look up any kind of trigger warnings, but here's the thing, I can't really tell you where this book or what this book is about because it picks up from the last book, and if I were to even tell you some of the characters that are in this, it would spoil the last book. So I'm going to keep it as vague as possible and just not give you too much details about this book, but I will kind of explain the 5th season towards the end of the video. I'm going to leave my thoughts about this and my reviews and ratings till the end when I've had a night of sleep to think on everything, and then I can actually make a coherent sentence. I'm enjoying it. It's crazy being back in this world. I really wish I didn't take as long between the first book and this book to pick it up, because I just feel like I forgot so many details about the first book that are really important, and I think I need to pick up the 3rd book within the next month or so, just so that I can keep the worlds close together, and like now it'll be fresh in my mind again, and everything about this will be fresh in my mind. So, but I do, if you're gonna start this series, like make sure you have time to read all 3 books, because I feel like it was a little confusing getting back into the world and understanding everything again and how everything works. But you do catch on eventually and you're in the world again, but it's a very complex, nuanced world that she's built. I'm really intrigued to see where we end off in this book and what's gonna happen in the 3rd book. I am enjoying it so far. I'm excited to finish it off. I'm gonna go make my coffee, and then we'll get back into reading, and I will share some thoughts when I'm done, and then we'll hopefully jump into a 2nd book. I think I still have like 10-ish hours to go, so I will see you in a little bit. I just finished the 5th season, and like I said, I'm gonna give all my thoughts, reviews, opinions, everything at the end. I need to sit on it a little bit. I feel like everything that happened at the end was just crazy, and there's so much to sit on and think about and just kind of wrap my head around. So I feel like I just need a minute or two to think about it, but I did finish this right now, and so we are going to move on to the next book. Now I do have a few that I'm going to choose from that long list of books that I showed you at the beginning. I did narrow it down to a few options. These are the 4 options that I think I want to go with one of these next. So we've got Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. We've got Hold My Girl by Charlene Carr, Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson, and the last one by Rachel Housel Hall. Now, my initial thought process going into the readathon was I wanted to read the Obelisk Gate by Jemisin and then an Octavia Butler book. However, I don't think that I'm in the mood for another sci-fi now. I feel like that one there was a lot to it. It was very heavy. It was very mind-consuming, and I just think I want something that is a little bit of an easier read this time around. So I think we're gonna save this one for another day. And then, so really it's between these 2, but again, I don't know if I want to do a fantasy. So as good as this one sounds, the last one by Rachel Housel Hall, I will be saving this one for a different time as well. So really, I think we've narrowed it down to literary fiction. So we've got Hold My Girl and Black Cake. Hold My Girl says, Catherine is a woman full of obsessions, everything clean, everything perfect all the time. After 7 years of trying and failing to conceive, she finally gives birth to Rose, her IVF miracle child. But she's always feared that Rose may not be her daughter, Rose's pale skin not matching Catherine's own. Tess never got her happy ending. She underwent IVF alongside Catherine and a group of hopeful mothers, but her daughter Hannah was stillborn. After a series of poor choices, Tess's divorce broke and stuck at a job beneath her skill skill set. When Rose is 10 months old, both Catherine and Tess get a call from the fertility clinic. The two women's eggs were switched. Catherine's perfect world begins to crumble around her, but for Tess, it's a glimmer of hope she needs to get her life back on track. It will take a custody suit to decide who deserves to be Rose's mother, push both women to the brink. With themes of motherhood, racial identity, loss, and betrayal, this emotional novel centered around a moral question is perfect for fans of Jodi Pickle and The Push by Ashley O'Drain. Okay, so that is not at all what I thought it was about, but okay, this is an option right now for the next book that I want to read. And then the other one is Black Cake by Charlene Wilkerson, and it says, we can't choose what we inherit, but we can choose who we become. In present-day California, Eleanor Bennett's death leaves behind a puzzling inheritance for her two children, Byron and Benny, a traditional Caribbean black cake made from a family recipe with a long history and a voice recording. In her message, Eleanor shares a tumultuous story about the headstrong young swimmer who escapes her island home under suspicion of murder. Oh, it's a mystery. The heartbreaking tale Eleanor unfolds the secrets she still holds back, and the mystery of a long-lost child challenge everything the siblings thought they knew about their lineage and themselves. Can Byron and Benny reclaim their once close relationship, piece together Eleanor's true history, and fulfill her final request to share the black cake when the time is right? Will their mother's revelations bring them back together or leave them feeling more lost than ever? Charlene Wilkerson's debut novel is a story of how the inheritance of betrayal, secrets, memories, and even names can shape relationships and history. Deeply evocative and beautifully written, Black Cake is an extraordinary journey through the life of a family changed forever by the choices of its matriarch. They both sound really interesting to me. I think I'm gonna think about it and I will come back when I've decided which one of these two that I want to start. And yeah, I'm gonna take about like a couple minutes to think about it. Okay, so I've decided on Hold My Girl by Charlene Carr. I just read the first sentences of both books. I was just drawn to this one a little bit more. I was opening the book and I was looking through it, and as I was flipping into the pages, I didn't even know that it's a signed copy. I feel like that's so cool. I love getting signed copies of books. I think it's so cool. I feel like this was the one we had to go with. This is the next book that we'll be reading, so go grab another drink and grab another book and come hang out and read with me. Pages in, so I thought it'd be a good time to stop and do a little check-in and let you know what this book's about. Very heartwarming but also gut-wrenching story, and this is, I think, the exact kind of book that I needed after reading a high fantasy. I'm really enjoying it and I feel like I'm flying through it. So we're essentially following two characters. We have Catherine and we have Tess. Both characters have had trouble getting pregnant, so they both underwent IVF. Catherine fortunately got pregnant, had a kid, and then Tess got pregnant but she lost the baby. Come to find out that at the clinic that they used, there was a nurse who came forward and said that she had swapped eggs between two of the clients and they happened to be the clients. So we are navigating this new territory where Tess's biological daughter is Catherine's daughter, but Catherine is the one who carried her and gave birth and all of that and has been raising her with her husband. And so they are now in talks with mediation, trying to figure out what's going to happen, what's going to go on. We're seeing the struggle between not only the relationships between the parents and their kids, but the relationships between friends as well. Like they know each other, they've ran in the same circles. It's just all very complicated, and I just feel like it's a very heartwarming but also gut-wrenching story. I mean, someone's going to get hurt and someone's not going to get what they want, and it's like, what do you do in this situation? Like, what do you do? You've got this person who has wanted to be a mom forever and has had valid reasons for wanting to be a mom, and part of those are because she didn't want to be alone on Tess's end of things, but she really wants to be a mom and she wants a daughter, and to find out that you do have a daughter who's here and who's, you know, alive and like going to play dates and doing all this and stuff like that, but that you didn't get to be part of that journey of growing her and giving birth to her. And on the other end with Catherine, having grown this child inside of you, you feel that connection. She's always felt slightly like her daughter wasn't hers, but she felt like they never looked quite alike. It's your child. You raised that person from birth till the age that she's at now. Like, you raised that person, but also that's your biological kid as well. Like, there's so much gray area with it, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm really hooked and I'm excited to get into it and see how everything gets resolved. I'm gonna get back into reading and I will update in a little bit when I have some more to say, but I'm really enjoying it so far. This is a perfect book, exactly what I needed right now. Update, I'm on chapter 44. I'm on page 290 of 410 pages. I've got about 3.5 hours left on the timer. Now I am going to be stopping at 8:48. I'm not going to be adding on time for all the stuff that happened last night with my kids, them being up and everything like that. But I did pop on the audiobook for a little bit because I had some chores to do. I had this console table that came in for my front entranceway, and I started putting that together while I popped in the audiobook. I just feel like I'd been sitting all day, so I kind of wanted to just move and do something productive in terms of around the house, and I did clean up a little bit. That was nice because I didn't think I'd have time to clean today, but I popped in the audiobook. Shout out to Spotify audiobooks for allowing me to do that today. I am on chapter 44. I do want to sit in and see if I can get this read and finished before my kids and my husband come back home. They're out right now tobogganing, so we're gonna lock in a little bit now. We're gonna sit and read, but this book is a lot heavier than I was expecting it to be. I think that if you're going to read this, you definitely have to check trigger warnings. There are certain situations and topics that come up that are very sensitive, and I would recommend checking trigger warnings. But the way that Charlene Carr writes, I feel like I need to read more of her books. She's a Canadian author. I love supporting my Canadian authors, and I just feel like I want to read more of her writing. It's very to the point, but she does have a beautiful way of storytelling. Like, it's very gripping and it's very engaging, and there's the stories between these two families. She makes you care so much about these characters here because we have two different families going through the same situation with this whole IVF and this switch up, and trying to see how they're going to balance this new family dynamic between biological mother and the family that the child is growing up in. And it's just so sad. You feel sad and you just want to give the characters a huge hug. The reactions and things that they're doing are out of character at times, but it's because, like, when it comes to your child, you're going to do anything and everything for your child. That's just what it is. You're going to do everything for them. You're going to do what's best for them. And as a parent myself, so much of this story is just like heartbreaking to me. I mean, Catherine's character, she's doing certain things that it's like, okay, that's a little intense, but at the same time, like, this, her life as she knew it is just up in the air, and she doesn't have control anymore over it. And that's just one of the scariest things, is not having control over your life and what's happening, especially when it comes to your kids. You just feel so much for these characters, and I just feel like heartbroken. I mean, someone switched their eggs and did that and didn't think of the consequences that would come with something like that, the emotional and mental toll that something like this could have on not only the parents but the child as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane that like one person's actions have caused all this. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart for everyone involved. But positive outlook of the whole situation would be that the child gets more love in their life. They get more people who love them in their life, and I feel like it's so hard to think about that aspect of it when you're going through situations like this. And not that I have any idea what these characters are going through, but it could be so hard to put any kind of positive twist on it. But this child is going to be loved by more people. But it's just, yeah, it's very intense. It's very heavy, but her storytelling is incredible. It's gripping. This is the first time that I have read any of her books, and I'm really loving it, and I'm excited to see what the outcome of this is and how we're going to resolve all the issues and how this new family dynamic is going to move going forward. I think there's just a lot of loose ends to tie up, and my heart breaks for all these characters. It's a story that I can't put down. Like, I'm finding myself just wanting to get to the end and figure out everything that's going on, and I've grown really attached to these characters through everything that they're going through, and I just feel like so many of them deserve a big hug. But those are my thoughts right now. We've got a little over 100 pages left. No, a lot over 100 pages. 120 pages. Got about 120 pages left, so I'm gonna see how much I can read before my kids come home. So we've got 3 hours and 28 minutes left on the timer. Well, about 3 hours and 29 minutes. So it's time to lock in and get this read. I think I can finish just around the time. If there's like half an hour left on the timer by the time I'm done this book, I'm not gonna pick up another book just because I'm in the middle of a couple other books right now that I put down so I could do this video, and I'll just jump back in those after. But this will be the last book that I'm reading this video, and yeah, let's get her read. Let's get her read. Readathon since I last talked to you about all my books, but I have had time to sit and think on everything, and I'm so excited to get into them and tell you my final thoughts, ratings, reviews, and all of that right now. Starting off with the first book, which was The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. I ended up landing on a 4.25 star rating for this book. I loved this book. Now, if I even told you who the POV is that we're following, would be a complete spoiler for the first book. I'm not going to tell you anything about this book other than it follows the events of the 5th season, and we kind of pick up like right after where that left off. But I will tell you a little bit of a summary of the 5th season in case you are interested in starting this series, getting into this series. I'll give you a little bit of background on that book. The 5th season is set on a supercontinent called the Stillness that is constantly rocked by seismic activity, some of it devastating to civilization and causing extended winters called the 5th season. So we have the Origins, who are these people who are able to draw energy from the earth and other living things in order to manipulate seismic events. And then on the other end we have the Guardians. The Guardians are essentially assigned to watch over and control the Origins, but also kill them if they deem necessary. But they're essentially training all the Origins at this facility to kind of be able to control them. Origins are essentially these outcasts of society. People are very scared of them. They don't want them around found them. In the first story, we're following Essen. She comes home one day to find her son beaten to death, and her daughter was taken by her husband. She doesn't know where they went. He just went away with her. So her journey in the book is finding her daughter, and we're also following a young girl named Demaya, and Demaya's family finds out that she's an origin. They bring someone in to take her away. They don't want anything to do with her. So we're seeing her journey of meeting somebody who is taking her to the fulcrum. And then we're also following Cyanide. She is an origin at the fulcrum, so we're seeing that side of things as well. She's tasked with completing a mission. So we're following those 3 POVs throughout the story, and we're getting to see 3 different areas of the world and like what's going on and everything. And there's a huge piece at the end that just like had my jaw on the floor. But essentially, like the entire book, you're kind of just wondering, how are these 3 characters in any what way connected? And it's so intriguing. Like by the end of it, I was shocked. I was like, oh, my jaw was on the floor. Like, it was just incredible. However, with these books, one thing that I always forget before jumping back into them is they are very heavy books. They deal with very heavy topics. If you're going to go into it, please look up trigger warnings. I forgot how heavy these books were before jumping back into this one. So after the 5th season, we jumped straight into this book, and this kind of picks up from where that left off. But even, like I said, if I told you the POV this book was in, it would spoil it. But that book was incredible. This book was so good as well, and I can't wait to get into the 3rd one and kind of wrap up the story and see where that's going to end. NK Jemisin is a master writer. She is incredible at what she does. She hones the craft so well. Her storytelling, her world building, the political system, the magic system in this book, so well thought out. Every detail matters, and every detail is connected back to everything so well that you could tell that she fully fledged out the story. We're just diving into it. It's one of the most interesting and intriguing fantasy worlds I've ever read about, and I think if you're someone who's looking to get into a little bit more of a higher fantasy situation and you could start with this series, I think that it is one where you're going to be a little confused at the beginning, because I know that I was in the first book, but it does come together nicely, and then you're kind of in the world by the end of the first book, that when you jump into this one, you kind of know the world a little bit, so you're not really learning too much about the world, but you're still getting details about it that help you build that world a little bit more. However, I did read the last one last February and this one this February, and I do think that spacing them out didn't help me in any capacity. I feel like if I read them back to back, it would have been a better overall reading experience. So I am going to pick up the Stone. Is it the Stone Sky? The 3rd book in this trilogy. I'm going to pick that one up fairly soon, just so that I can still have the world fresh in my mind. I'm definitely not going to wait a year between the books again, but absolutely love this. Gave it a 4.25 star rating, and I'm so excited to finish out this series. I think this could be a top tier series for me. I honestly think that, yeah, if you're getting into higher fantasy, read this, but please check trigger warnings. There's a lot of heavy topics in this book. The next book that I read in the readathon was Hold My Girl by Charlene Carr. This book took me by surprise. I didn't realize how emotional this was going to be. I ended up landing on a 3.75 star rating for this book. I was between that and a 4 star, and I just feel like that's where I landed on this. This book was very emotional. It was a lot more emotional than I was anticipating. Essentially, we are following 2 women who are acquaintances. They run in the same friend groups. We have Catherine and we have Tess. Both women use the same IVF center to get pregnant. They both got pregnant. Catherine unfortunately had a baby, and she's now a mom, and then Tess on the other end, she got pregnant. She lost the baby, which was like devastating in itself. But we're following these 2 women, and Tess decides she really wants to be a mom. That's like really important to her. She wants to have a child. And then on the other hand, we have Catherine, who she's married, she's got a child, like she has the life that she wants. However, this nurse from the clinic comes forward and she tells everybody that she has switched 2 people's eggs, and the 2 eggs that were switched were Catherine and Tess's. So Tess's egg was put into Catherine and Catherine's egg was put into Tess. Throughout the story, you kind of hear a little bit of the nurse's perspective of why she did what she did, but I still it's not justifiable in any what way. The mental toll that she put onto these characters by making that decision on her own, it's not forgivable. These characters went through so much, and we're following Tess and Catherine's journey of motherhood, essentially, and seeing who's going to get custody of this child, because biologically it's Tess's child, but Catherine grew her in her stomach. She gave birth to her. She raised this child. Catherine has this connection to the child, but she's always felt a little bit like the child wasn't hers. She never fully looked like Catherine. When she would go out, everyone would tell her that her kid looked like her husband and not her. And so there's this struggle of racial identity, because Catherine is a black woman, her husband is white, and so the child didn't look anything like Catherine at all. So she'd always had this feeling that maybe she wasn't her child. But we see the struggle between the moms. They end up going to mediation to decide what the best route is moving forward in this child's life, because Tess wants to be a part of her child's life, and it's also Catherine's child. And Catherine is in a position where she is losing complete control over her life as she knew it, and that's just one of the scariest things as a parent, to like not have control over your child. In this capacity, it's such a unique situation. I can't imagine either woman and what they're going through. I feel so much for them, because on one end, Tess seems like such a loving person. She just wants to be part of her daughter's life, but Catherine is also so loving, and she just cares so much about her child, and she was there for those important moments, but like in no fault of Tess. Like it wasn't Tess's fault that she wasn't there for those moments, you know what I mean? And so they're both undergoing a drastic life change. For Tess on her end, when she found out, she was so ecstatic, because she's always wanted wanted a child, and she was like, I now have a child out in the world, but she's missed out on that first year of life, that she just wants to be part of her child's world. And then on the other end we have Catherine, who that's her child, and the idea of sharing her child with another mother just seems unfathomable to her. Like, she does not want it. And we see so many pieces of Catherine come out where it just seems uncharacteristic, but in the situation she's in, I think she's valid for the way that she feels about things. It's a very heavy emotional story. I would also recommend checking trigger warnings for this, especially if you're a parent dealing with things like child loss. I would definitely read more of Charlene Carr's writing. I think her storytelling is really gripping. It's very fast paced, but I got so much out of it, and I got a lot of emotional depth out of the characters, and it was definitely different than what I expected initially, but I ended up really loving it. And I do think she's an author that I want to read more of her works. There's a book that she put out in 2025. I can't remember the name, but I'll put it up. I definitely want to pick that one up and read that one. I just think that her writing style is so easy to follow. It's very to the point, but she adds this level of emotional depth to her straight and to the point writing that I feel like can be really tricky to do at times. This one really put you in the perspectives of both characters, and you could really feel and develop a real sense of empathy for our characters because they're all going through so much. I thought it was also so well done, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I picked this one up. So those are my thoughts about these two books. I'm so glad that I read these books. I'm so glad that I finally got into the second book of the Broken Earth trilogy. It was time to pick it up because it had been way too long, and this one was a more recent purchase, but I'm so glad that I picked it up because I feel like I love my romantasy. I love my fantasy books. That is always going to be my top genre. Like, I've loved fantasy from a very young age, but just getting more into literary fiction the last little bit, I'm loving it so much. I'm very proud of myself. We finished 2 books in this readathon. Let me know if you've read either of these books and what you thought about them. Let me know if you're going to jump into any of these books. I do think that I like the way that I did this readathon better than I did last time, where I started the first half of it overnight. I think I would do it like that again when I do another one. It was really fun. I had a great time. I think the way that I did it was really good, and I was able to stay up for the second half. All in all, successful readathon. I'm really excited to eventually do one of these again. I don't feel burnt out from it. Maybe that night I felt a little bit burnt out when I went to bed, but like I woke up the next morning and I didn't really feel burnt out from it. So I think it's a good sign. And I think that doing it this way is how I'll do it moving forward. Just, you know, starting between 7 to 9 p.m. and then till the next day at that time. If you stayed this long, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with my content, and I hope to see you in the next one.